Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. Got Susie Coutu, hope I'm saying that right, Susie, writing in, hello, I would like to have your suggestion whether I should buy a D7200, she says the D500 is out of my budget, or the new 200-500 f5.6. That's the new Nikon lens that I've reviewed here. You can check it out in the past videos, which I know some have issues. I can say I didn't have any issues with the one I had here. I loved it. It was a great lens for wildlife and birding as well. I have the Nikon 300mm f4 plus the 1.4 times TC and the D750 body. Don't know why, but I've never thought that using the DX mode in my camera would give me an image of 10 or 3 megapixels, which makes sense. Thank you for your response. So I guess, Susie, it sounds like what you're trying to decide is it better to use the crop mode on your 750 with the new 200-500 lens, or you're talking about the D7200 with your 300mm f4 with the 1.4 times. I guess that's gotta be up to you as far as if you're happy with the resolution you can get in the crop mode, in the DX mode of the D750. I know myself, I would probably be inclined for wildlife and birding to get the 7200. This is a very nice performing APS-C sensor, Nikon. Very fast shooting, very great autofocus, and excellent high ISO. Best in class for an APS-C sensor. So very, very good. Probably, within a stop, some people would argue a stop and a half. Maybe somebody would say to 2, but very close to the 750's performance. But with the 7200 and your 300 f4, you have the let's see here, I did the math. We've got the 300mm plus the 1.4 gives you 420. That's full frame, and the 1.5 gives you 630. So you're up to a 630mm field of view on the 7200 with the lens you have. Now, what I would be tempted to do is sell your 300mm f4 and keep the extender. That gives you a 500mm with the f1.4, brings us up to 700mm. So that's the 200-500mm lens using your teleconverter, takes us to 700mm on the D7200 for field of view because of the crop sensor. Still at the full 24 megapixels because that's what the D7200 is. And then you have the 1.5 multiplier. So I don't know, did I say that right? The 500mm, so the 200-500mm at the 500mm long end with your 1.4 extender is 700mm. That's full frame. Then when we're using it on the 7200, we get the 1.5 multiplier for APS-C sensor, and that brings us to 1050 millimeters. So that's what I would do if I wanted something for birding and for wildlife. I would get the 7200 and the 200-500mm and combine it with your 1.4 times, and that gives us a 1050mm reach in equivalent terms for full frame with a fantastic performing sensor in the D7200, as well as fantastic autofocus, great buffer depth, everything. Great setup for shooting wildlife. Probably the most cost effective. I think you can do that very reasonably, but it sounds like you were going to spend money anyways. So sell the 300. You probably get a pretty good buck for that. It might just about cover your 7200, especially if you get a 7200 refurb, plus the 200-500mm. So that's what I would do. But what do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Would you go that route, or would you just add the 200-500 with the teleconverter on the 750 and shoot in crop mode? Or is there another option you'd look at doing? Let me know. Let's help Susie out here. Leave some comments below. Let's discuss which arrangement you think is best for wildlife and birding. As I said, my option would be to go with the 200-500, the teleconverter, and the 7200. What do you guys think? Thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks for your question, Susie. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.